See, I think you want to be caught fixing that hair, honey.
I do
We can
not, but it never does what it needs to do right when we get started. But it's all good. Nope, I'm not doing nope, not. It
that's
is
fine.
what it is. Hello, it's Friday. We're having fun, and so is my hair. So it's all
It's
good.
Friday, and I'm ready to. Yeah, absolutely. Excellent, D. It's good to see you and your hair. Inga, you and yours too. That reminds me of my old cut. You make me want to take these braids out and just get my, but I'm not trying to do anything with that. But happy Friday. It's wonderful to see absolutely everyone out there and every beautiful body out there. Absolutely. My name is Blair G. Hervey. I am the founder and CEO of The Corporate Strategist. Today, I am joined by my colorful co-host, my bestie and soul friend of 20 plus years. Hi, D'Angelo. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm pleased as a peach. Do people say that? But I feel
That's
like I am. But
cool.
I gotta give a shout out. Today we're talking about a really fun subject. But I gotta give a shout out who a woman who is dominating the field of preschool teachers out there. My sister, whose birthday is today. So happy birthday, Tron Crane, out there. Tron Crane Williams, I should say, Tron Williams, or Tron Williams, whoever alias she's going by today, or as they call her, affectionately call her on Facebook, Vicky Too Thick. I don't even know where she got that from, but happy birthday to my wonderful little sister who I adore. So yeah, I had to check that out.
I love it. Happy to Tron. Happy birthday to Tron. And you know what? And happy Friday to every person out there. Welcome to the Black Diva Collective podcast. And a big welcome to our guest today, Inga Harmon. Nice to have you. We're excited.
Hi, thank you.
Good. Hey, let's go ahead and get into this thing, D. My favorite part of our call or our segment or our podcast, whatever we're calling it these days. Get us kicked off, will you?
All right. Well, Blair, as we do every day here on the Black Diva Collective Live, is we just really want to check in with everyone. We're asking leaders to do this every day to go a little deeper with your employees, to show empathy and vulnerability with them, and really continue to grow significant relationships. And the way to do that is simply sometimes by just asking, how are you doing? And so what we ask here on the Diva Collective Live, the Black Diva Collective Live, is how are you feeling? How's your heart? How's your soul? How's your mind? And Inga, I'm going to start with you. How are you feeling today? Yeah, how's your soul today?
So my soul is in discovery mode. I'm sort of like trying to figure out what to take off, what to add on. So I'm sort of, I just exhaled, so that was good.
That
So
is.
discovery mode, that's where I am.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. And Blair, how's your heart, soul, and mind today?
I love Inga's response. It's giving me very sales girl at heart. Very discovery mode. I'm doing great. I'm feeling fantastic. I had a couple of calls that really boosted up my mentality and some of my systems and some of my ideas behind my business this morning. So I am feeling like, $1,000,000, honestly. Plus, she got a haircut. So I'm feeling bold. I'm feeling edgy. I'm feel stylish. I'm feeling back on point. D, how are you feeling?
I am fantastic today. It's Friday. We made it through a wonderful week, and I'm watching a really fantastic show about another amazing woman of color. It's called Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton tale, and it's about Queen Charlotte, who was married to King George the Third or something. I don't know, but it's a fantastic piece of artwork on Netflix by Shonda Rhimes, another woman who's dominating a male-dominated industry right now. So if you're looking for something to watch, please catch that show because there's so many dimensions to it and it's fabulous. So I've been watching it and very inspired and encouraged from this Friday.
I love that. Thank you. Well, thank you for sharing that. Well, again, welcome to Inga Harmon, and thank you for joining us in this valuable conversation about women thriving in male-dominated fields. For those who are not familiar with Inga, she is the vice president of Harmon Solutions. Actually, the president of Harmon Solutions and the vice president of Harmon Realtors Incorporated. So she's a serial entrepreneur and second generation in both of those main areas of business, which is commercial real estate and construction. She focuses on building businesses that interconnect and is a mother of two girls and a traveling yogi. So let's give it up for Miss Inga Harmon. Welcome.
Hi.
And I have to add, you know, we have all kinds of folks that sign up to be on this platform to share their stories, and some of them know us, but some of them don't. I love that we figured out how we know each other earlier today through Fearless Fund. So shout out to Fearless Fund. We were both part of the Get Venture Ready cohort some months ago. So shout out to them as well, doing big things in a male-dominated field. Now, you brought this topic to the table of TBDC, if you will. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But we'd love to learn a little bit more about how you got into your business and the intersectionality, I guess, between the businesses that you're in and being a Black woman and thriving there.
Yes. So thank you again for inviting me to the show. So I'm second generation construction and real estate. So I grew up, my mom's real estate, my dad's construction. Always wanted to be in the construction field because I was a diehard tomboy. I always liked to, run after my big brother, and everything he did, I wanted to do. But my dad was like, yeah, construction, no, I don't need you on the field. The male conversation, the male energy. He doesn't want his little girl on the field. So I sort of backdoored it. So over 20 years ago, done construction, real estate since 1996, when I had my first daughter on the campus of Clark Atlanta University, actually, 1996. Then it went into real estate so I can actually have the ability to be wherever she was and whatever she needed me to be. And there was no ceiling on what I could do in real estate. So that's how Harmon & Harmon Realtors was started, as my mom and myself. And then my clients wanted me to, in addition to how I was able to acquire the properties or get the properties for them, they wanted me to project manage the build out and construction of their projects. So that's when Harmon Solutions was born, as a result of my real estate clients. And then that went on to my construction clients. And that's how I married the two together. So I normally help my clients acquire, and then I build out the spaces for them.
Okay. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So it's family owned, second generation. I love hearing that. It sounds like there's great opportunities to build all kinds of generational wealth and inspire your child as well. Shout out to Georgia. So lovely. Okay, let's get into this. This is great.
All right. Well, today is once again, a great conversation I'm intrigued by. I would say why I'm even more intrigued, because the other day I was out and about, and I met a phenomenal woman whose name is Corinne Jean-Pierre. And Corinne Jean-Pierre is the first Black, openly gay female White House press secretary. And if you know about this role, there's been 35 White House press secretaries, and only about 5 of them have been women, from what I can find online. And so we have a moment right now, and a movement, and a moment that shouldn't just be a moment. It should be a lifestyle where women are really competing and having roles equitable to men, right? And so how do we, one of the questions I just want to talk to you about today, and we're going to dive into this, is really how do we get past this male dominated? I know it exists now. I know we have to use it, but how do we get past that? So in your findings and the things, your experiences in life, what are some of the challenges that women are having when they're going into these male dominated spaces, and what should companies be doing to help them along that journey to mitigate those challenges or take them away, those barriers?
So what's interesting for me is I'm in 2 male-dominated fields. So commercial construction and commercial real estate are both male and white male dominated in both arenas. So just to give you some stats, when I came into the REAP organization, which is an organization that works to bring more people of color into the commercial real estate space. It was only 1% when I went through that program in 2016. And that's not just in Atlanta. As Black as Atlanta is, it still was like 1% of African Americans or people of color in the commercial real estate space. And then to go into commercial construction, just to give you, I guess, a visual, when I walk into most bids, or when you go in to look at projects, even today, I could say even yesterday, I'm most of the time the only woman and the only Black, especially Black woman in that space. And that's not after you get the job, that's even to look at the project. So many times I walk in, they look at me like I'm maybe the admin or office manager. We don't really occupy those spaces. And there are other African-American women that are contractors, but it's very rare to see us in the room.
How's it make you feel?
So I guess I have to go off of visual things. So one of my largest client is Georgia Power. Okay. So my dad is in his 70s and he's been around a long time. So when you walk into those spaces, they normally think he's the boss and I'm just there to assist him. Yeah. So it was very disheartening at first. And it was maybe like I've been working with him like 6 years. And normally I'm the youngest in the room and I'm in my late 40s. But still the youngest. And then I had this big afro. Now it's cut. But it was a big afro walking in. They're like, who is this woman? And why is she on our hallway? So, it took a while for them to get used to me. But now they're used to seeing me in spaces because you're the lady with the afro. That's what they normally call me on.
Listen. You know what? I love to hear it. And they call you that until they really know about the results that you get. Yes. I remember working and I've been in sales and tech for 20 years, so my entire career. So my first half of my career, I'm knocking on doors, selling security systems, elbowing my way into different tech spaces. So primarily white, male dominated as well. And often known by, because I would always switch up my hair, Dee remembers, I would either have my little boy cut, I would have a different color, I shaved the sides, and then I always dressed. And I always thought I dressed cute, but some days, right. We have stories for that. But I was always known by how I looked until I made a decision that I wanted to be known about what I brought to the table or known for what I brought to the table. So how did you actually switch that? So going from being known from being, the youngest woman in the room, the Black woman in the room, the woman with the afro to this is the woman that closes deals, big deals, and gets results.
So on the construction side, what happens and what I always tell me, you let me in the door, measure me by my merit, measure me by my work. So we were able, I sort of went in through this guy, Tim Cochran. He said, we're going to give you this project. They really weren't sure I was going to be able to do it. It was like, we're going to give you this project. And from October to December that year, it's end of the year. So everything has to be finished by December 31st. I said, sweet, I'm going to get it done. I'm a mom and I'm a woman. I know how to multitask. Let's go. So we had all these locker rooms and I love going to spas. So they weren't used to my lens that I looked through, what I wanted to see when we finished. So we left it spa-like, the large tiles. The men were like, oh my God. They said, the only problem we have now is we can't keep our men out the bathroom. They're all in the bathrooms, So now I'm known as the lady that did all the locker rooms at Plant Wansley. We know your bathroom. We know your work. So they know the work. So I always say it's just give us a chance. Then you can measure me by my work, not how I look or whatever different things you think that women can or can't do. Put me in the field, let me do my thing, and then measure me based on that.
I love that. Oh, yes. I love that. Thank you. That gave me some goosebumps.
No, I do love that. And so really when you think about that, how do companies get away, or organizations, or how do we get away from using this male-dominated industry phrase, right? So what should companies be really doing when you think about the top 3 things they should be doing to attract women, to ensure that work is more equitable for women at their organizations, to make for treatment? I think about Me Too, how that changed the way women were working in many places, right? So what should companies be doing when you think about what are the top 3 things to really get women there and create a space of belonging for them?
So I think it needs to start the same way they recruit colleges, they recruit athletes, they recruit different things, start recruiting on a lower level. So at one point in high schools, we had different trades. We had construction, we had woodwork, and the kids were exposed to different facets of business, not just, okay, I need you to go to school and run an office. So if we start recruiting and teaching them at a young age, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for college students or people with new ideas so that we can actually stay relevant. So number 1 would be to start grooming kids to know about the construction industry, grooming kids, especially our kids, to know about the real estate industry, and not just residential, but commercial, the buildings that they go into every day and shop and spend money, that they can actually sell, lease these spaces, different things like that. And number 2, for women, the same way in Atlanta, where it's required almost to work at the airport, you have to have a percentage of a minority participation on your project, I think the same thing needs to be for women. You need to have minority participation, and not just participate, but own a portion of that project so that they can actually build their company, and they're given the tools to be able to compete on the same level as the prime large contractor so they can scale to that. And I would say number 3, instead of just hiring women to be admins at your office, hire them and put them in the field, put steel toes on them, show them the inner workings of a construction project so that they can actually be superintendents and truly know what it takes to build each project.
Yeah. And I would just add to that is that when you're looking at your diversity supplier numbers and percentages, make sure you're not just looking at women, but looking at Black women and other women of color, because oftentimes we know that those contracts may go to women, but are they women of color, right? And so they just lump all of that together in that diversity numbers. But let's really make sure we're pointing out to see what's the percentage of that as Black women, and maybe even have some goals around how many contracts you're going to give to Black women or vendors are going to be in your space. Yeah. Great. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, Blair.
No, that's great. And just so you know, there's so much love going out to you in the comments there, Inga. They are loving what you're saying. And I see someone said, that's my boss, the best to ever do it. So representation definitely matters for sure. You know, when I think about this topic, and I even think about my lived experience and perhaps even your own, sometimes we do operate with a sense of fear and hesitancy because, you know, it's the unknown, or it is an industry, whether it's commercial real estate or sales or tech, that has been built to support a homogenous group of folks.
Right.
There's actually a survey that was conducted by the Gallup Center of Black Voices in 2020 that found that Black women are less likely to feel they are treated with respect in the workplace. And they're also less likely to feel like a valued member of the team, and that their coworkers are treated better than they are, that they're not treated fairly. And so when I think about that, we already have that against us. We're a double minority. We're not necessarily going to be treated fairly in the workplace. And then we're also going to choose a predominantly male industry. A lot of fear could come over you and keep you from getting some big money and some big bags, right?
Right.
So what would you say to the woman out there who's either starting her career, transitioning in her career, and is operating in that fear and keeping herself from moving forward?
My main thing, so for some reason, the word skew, like I was looking at a curve, and you skew off, and you're going to be an outlier. I'm big on be that outlier. Find what it is that you could bring to the commercial industry, construction industry, that would actually keep each company relevant. And that's what it's all about. If you are staying status quo, you're not going to last long. Even if you're one of these grandfather companies, that's fine. But the way the world is going, where people are being so innovative, finding out different ways technologically, what to do, like what they can do from their computer, you have to stay relevant. You have so many people coming into this country that can add to the things you want. So trying to keep everyone out, trying to keep us away from the table, they have to have you at the table. I know a lot of people don't have to say that, but I have to lean in. You need us every day. We bring so much to the table. And I have to tell it, from a mom, a Black woman, having all the things and experiences that we have, you bring us to the table. We're going to skew whatever status quo you have going on, which will keep you relevant. And that's important. Without relevance, you're not making money for long.
Look at you.
She said without you're not making money for long. That's somebody.
Period, drops mic, the end.
But I love that. I love that, because if you're seeing this resurgence in Hollywood, well, really in all spaces, but where I'm visibly able to see the resurgence of women redefining what it means to be in Hollywood at every age, right? And that they are still showing up and showing out on stages and being nominated for awards, right? So it's that constant reinvention and that constant making sure that you're relevant and understand what are the new trends, what's happening in spaces. Speaking of trends, well, maybe not speaking of trends, but I don't like to use the word feminist because I feel like I still need to grow in that area, right? But I remember my first entry into ensuring that I was an ally for women probably was when I started working at Planned Parenthood at the age of 15, and really seeing the need for women to have healthcare, especially for women who did not have access to quality healthcare, right? And so but I don't use the word feminist because I still have growth in my journey. So as an ally, what should men be doing differently to make sure women are feeling like they belong in these male dominated industries? What can we be doing to show up better, or creating better belonging for women?
In the area of healthcare, or just in
No, just
general?
in general, just in general. Maybe you can speak from your space. I mean, in construction, I just think about I think about when women walk down the street, how construction workers sometimes do and call catcalls. So disrespectful.
Right.
And I know you are probably not part of that part of the business, but just speaking from your perspective, what can men do in those industries that you're working on to be a better ally?
So I think it needs to be almost, they need to check themselves, because even in the spaces, I walk past construction sites, you could be on construction sites, but unless that company have rules about respect for individuals, sexual harassment and different things, you get the same thing you would on the street. It can be side comments, staring too long, or making women feel uncomfortable. But I think as women, we need to set a standard. I know people are going to be disrespectful, but I think that at no point any comments, any actions should be ignored. You check it right on the spot. So I normally don't really get that, because I'm checking it as soon as it's coming out their mouth. Or you looking too long. What are you looking at? Why are you not working? What are we doing?
Period. You know what? I'm gonna just get you a t-shirt.
Like, period. Right.
You heard what I said. I said what I said.
Yeah. So I just think it's just respect. Like, companies need to make sure everyone respects everyone the same way they would their mama. That's as easy. I think it's the best way to go.
Yeah. You know, and what you're saying is not any different than what we've heard from folks that either work in corporate America or, create these cultures. But we all have to think about the culture that we're creating. How are we cultivating these safe spaces and safe zones? How are we creating and operating in the values that we set forth? All of those things are really, really important.
Right.
So let's go back to you, your role, and maybe advice that you can continue to give to women and Black women in these particular industries. I can think about some things that I've done in sales and in tech, one of which I can't remember. Maybe I was 24 years old, and I was one of the top salespeople knocking on doors. And they sent us to Houston, Texas with this hope and this dream, right? And that was a huge risk. I left my apartment in Atlanta. I had to send my son back and forth, trying to visit. It was a huge risk I had to take in my career. Mm-hmm. I think about some other women out there that are dominating in their fields. I can't remember her name right now, but it's the woman in Atlanta who's pursuing lots of men and lots of rappers, and making sure that they are taking accountability for what they say in their lyrics. Or I think about AOC, who's standing up for Jordan Neely right now, who was killed by, a white man on the train just the other day, or maybe it was yesterday. But I think about these risks in these big voices that we have to have in these spaces. Can you talk to us about a couple of risks that you've had to take in order to continue to thrive in your industry?
So one is the risk of not being healthy because I'm staying up all night. Some people don't. I mean, just so you can be competitive and make sure that you're staying 2 or 3 steps ahead of your competition, even competition you don't know about. Most of the thing I'm known as this pit bull is because I am foregoing sleep in order to compete the next day. So it's, if you have a child, you need to work at night to make sure you're getting contracts out to your clients, you're getting in front of your clients while they're sleeping, so that the next day you are ahead of everybody else. That's one thing. In addition to that, I have an older daughter that in order for me to get ahead of people or to compete or be the fastest or be the best, she had to watch me on the phone constantly. So it's almost sacrificing being a mom because you're trying to be a boss. So it's always a sacrifice. And sometimes your kids are sacrificed for that, or your time with your children. And I don't want to downplay that because there's a lot of women going through that. And then finally, just sacrificing as an entrepreneur. Sometimes you're using your personal funds to make sure you're floating your business on the downturn. So it's all, entrepreneurship is a constant sacrifice, big wins, big losses. At the end of the day, you're trying to stay level. And so I think it's a constant sacrifice to live the lifestyle we want to live.
I felt all of that.
Okay.
I see you. I affirm you. I felt all of that. Thank you, Inga.
You're welcome.
Inga, really quickly, I just want you to also, can you just touch base on the rewards from your children seeing you the successful person that you are? Because I don't want to take that away from that moment. You said there's sacrifice, but I also think, as I've seen so many women in my life, and so many men, but so many women right now we're talking about, be successful, I have to sacrifice, not even sacrifice, have to figure out what their balance is for family and children or whatever it may be. Can you just talk about the rewards of what what that looks like now that you're at the other end of it, or that you're now living and existing in that success?
So I'm big on hustle hard, so hustle smart, but play harder. So my kids know their mom will get on the plane at any moment and go to Miami and lay on the beach because I'm big on playing hard. My kids go on trips. They always know I'm going to be wherever they are, whatever they are participating in. I'm not missing it. So I'm much of a mom as I am a boss, but it's just certain sacrifices. But my thing is hustling hard so that I can travel the world doing yoga and relaxing on anybody's beach. So the other side, again, we're still hustling. We're still sacrificing, still that ebb and flow. But beach time, it's worth it for me.
Yeah. Inga, you might have just talked your way into an invitation to Anguilla.
Okay, when you going there?
Things that I really wanted to offer to so I'm celebrating my 40th in December. And I really wanted to make sure that the people that came, they have this curated experience doing some of the things that I love to do, but also relaxing. And I really wanted to have a yogi. So I'm gonna holler at you. I'm gonna holler at you for real. That would be so dope.
I'll do a handstand for y'all.
Okay. All right. Yes.
I want to see D'Angelo do the headstand.
I'm not doing that. I know I'm not doing that. Thank you. I'll be drinking somewhere where y'all doing peaceful yoga. That's my piece. I'll have a morning mimosa with a little shot of Tito's. But anyhow, that's the whole other story. I just want to say thank you for sharing that, because as I've seen Blair, my mother, my sisters, so many women struggle with that conundrum of being a working mom. And I just want to say it's okay. We as products of working parents, we don't turn out any differently. Sometimes we turn out even more better because we understand that hustle mentality. So I just don't want you all to take that on with you today. I want you to take that peaceful word with you today, that it's okay. We respect it. We love it. And yeah, we understand the sacrifices. Okay. Okay. All right, Blair, are you ready for the fun question? I'm sorry.
I know that was a good one. That was a good one. I just want to say this really quickly too, Inga. We do love so D'Angelo and I used to travel. I felt like all over the world. Like I was his plus one, he was my plus one for a very long time until ... But we actually went on a trip one time and we went to Aruba, which I think is still to this day probably
my favorite place.
One of my favorite. And I had actually went to President's Club. And so we stayed at the Ritz-Carlton. So any sales folks out there, I was killing it. So that's why we were there. So he was my plus one. He was drinking that day and we were supposed to go paddle boarding. And they said, you can go as far as you want to, but just don't cross this rope, right? So I'm looking back and D'Angelo is flopping over in the water. He could not stand up because he was just so tipsy. Do you remember that, D?
Yeah, and I remember that I went back and I think you got lost and they had to come and find you. Is that the story you're trying to tell? What was the purpose of this? It didn't turn out good for either one of us, but it was a great adventure.
Inga, if you go too far from Aruba, you'll end up in Venezuela. And so we did and they had to
you had the Venezuelan Coast Guard come and find you.
I don't know why I told that story. I think it was just the boat and then D'Angelo being a great ally and making sure that we always are lifted and having a great time. Okay, so I have I think we have time for probably one each.
Sure, let's do it.
Sorry. Rapid fire question.
Okay.
So beach time. Ooh. Water activities or bar activities?
Water.
Oh, that was too easy. Okay, D.
Because we do our research around here, tennis or salsa dancing?
Both.
Well, which one would you rather be doing? Because I know you do both of them.
Oh, salsa, because that way, it's like you can smell good, you can smell people, they can swirl you around, you can have a nice dress. Salsa.
Okay, I like it. I like it. I'm all about it. Yes, salsa dancing. All right, really quickly here. Let me give my shout out of the day. I'm giving a shout out to. I think I've seen a story article somewhere about this, but Sherry I Harris is CEO of Detroit-based Switch Logistics Group, which is a black female owned trucking company in Detroit. So if you're looking for a trucking agency, check her out. When we talk about women in dominated fields, she is definitely dominating that in the Detroit area with her trucking company, and she's also training other women to get into the trucking industry. And there's lots of others, as I was doing my research, women who are getting into this male dominated space. So, which I hate that terminology, but it is what it is. All right, Blair, over to you.
Oh my goodness, this was such a fun conversation, Inga. Thank you for allowing us to keep it light, but you took us deep as well. We greatly appreciate all of the nuggets you shared with us today. I'd also like to say happy Cinco de Mayo to our Mexican allies, friends, and family out there. And also, we cannot wait for you all in Kentucky and in Louisville to enjoy Derby from a distance. So y'all stay safe and have a great time. For everybody else that's watching or watching the replay, please, please, please join us every weekday at 12 p.m. Pacific time, at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another daily dose of DEIBA with D and B on the Black DEIBA Collective. Y'all have a great weekend. Bye now.